All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking the story of India's agricultural trade. And trust me, it's a real 5-year roller coaster that helps answer a massive question about the nation's role in the global food economy. So here's the big question we're tackling. When you look at its farmland, is India feeding the world, or is it actually relying on the world's farms? You might think you know the answer, but as we're about to see, well, it's not that simple at all. So, to get to the bottom of this, we're going to break it down into 4 parts. First, we'll look at the big picture. Then we'll dig into the top exports and imports. And finally, we'll put it all together and see what the final trade balance looks like. Okay, let's start with part 1, the big picture. Why should we even care about this stuff? Why is it such a big deal? Well, for a developing nation with a huge population, foreign trade isn't just about dollars and cents. As our source material points out, it's literally a powerful engine for economic growth. The stakes, you can imagine, are incredibly high. And speaking of our source, just so you know where all this is coming from, all the data we're looking at today is from a 2022 analysis. It was published in the International Journal of Research and Analytical Reviews. So yeah, we're going straight to the research here. All right, on to Section 2, India's top agricultural exports. This is what the country is putting on the world's dinner table, so to speak. Okay, take a look at these numbers. What's really fascinating here is you've got these consistent heavy hitters, right? Things like basmati rice, buffalo meat, and spices. These are the bedrock, the absolute backbone of India's agricultural sales. Let's just zoom in on basmati rice for a second. It's the perfect example of a reliable heavy hitter. Year in and year out, it brings in a massive amount of revenue. It's a true flagship product for Indian agriculture. But not every commodity is that stable. Some are total wild cards, and their performance can dramatically swing the entire trade balance from one year to the next. And sugar is the perfect example of this. Just look at the chart. The value of sugar exports more than doubled in just a couple of years. That is a huge swing. I mean, look at that number, an 82% jump in just one financial year. That is absolutely wild. And that's the key takeaway here. This volatility, this unpredictability, it's a huge part of the story. So that's the export side, led by things like rice and spices. Now, when we flip the coin and look at the import side, we're talking about a completely different basket of goods. Which brings us right to our third section, India's top agricultural imports. This is the other half of the equation, what a nation of over 1 billion people needs to buy from global farms. And whoa, right off the bat, one category just completely dominates the picture. Back in 2016-17, vegetable oils made up a staggering 44% of the entire agricultural import bill. It is by far the single biggest thing India buys from the rest of the world. And just like we saw with sugar on the export side, the import side has its own volatile commodities. A perfect example? Let's talk about raw cotton. Seriously, look at this jump. The amount spent on raw cotton imports more than doubled in just 1 year. It's such a clear example of how fast a country's domestic needs can shift. Let's put a number on that. We're talking about growth of almost 114% in a single year. It's a powerful reminder that these trade flows aren't static at all. They react, sometimes dramatically, to things like supply, demand, and policy. Okay, so we've seen what India sells and what it buys. Time to move to our final section and answer the big question. When you do the math and subtract imports from exports, where does India land? Is it a surplus or a deficit? Let's start the clock in 2016-17. As you can see plain as day, that import bar is way taller than the export bar. India was buying a lot more than it was selling. And the final tally for that year was a trade deficit of over 42,000 crore rupees. A pretty clear sign that the country was relying on the world's farms. But that was just the beginning of this story. Now, fast forward just 2 years to 2018-19, and look at this, a complete flip. The export bar is now the taller one. India's agricultural sales to the world actually surpassed its purchases. And this turnaround is really the crucial point. India went from a massive deficit to a trade surplus of over 16,000 crore rupees. That's a dramatic shift in just 24 months. But was that a permanent change? Not exactly. This final table tells the full story, and as you can see, it really is a roller coaster, swinging from deficit to surplus and then back again year after year. The only constant, really, was change. Which leaves us with one final thought. This 5-year snapshot shows a system that's always in motion, a really delicate balance that can be easily tipped by volatile prices and shifting global needs. So the big question for the future is, in an even more unpredictable world, can India find a way to consistently stay